I think it's safe to say that the lightweight division is on fire right now. When you look at 135 pounds, man, there were some young, highly talented guys there. And we even got a not-so-young guy who's highly talented, Vasily Lomachenko. But think about it. We got Gervonta Davis. We got Devin Haney. I'll even throw Gamboa in there, even though he's typically not talked about quite the same way when we talk about like the four horsemen of the division. But we'll throw him in there, right? Maybe that's the four horsemen now that Ryan Garcia left, bumped up to 140. But we got Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Gamboa, Lomachenko. And then just last night, some continuing to reassert himself into those talks, Isaac Cruz. He's not necessarily as popular as those guys, not necessarily as big on social media. Maybe that's part of the reason that we don't talk about him quite the same. But man, never forget about that performance that he went out there and he put in against Gervonta Davis. Never forget about when he went out there and did the Gamboa. And now just last night, we see him again in there against Ramirez. Now look, I said in the build-up to this fight that if you didn't know the name Eduardo Ramirez, I wasn't going to hold it against you. Not a lot of people did. He wasn't coming into this fight as some huge name guy. He wasn't coming in here as though everybody knew who he was and we were really fascinated to see what he was going to do against Isaac Cruz. Was this going to be his coming out party? All those types of... That wasn't the conversation that we were having. However, if you took the time and you sat and you break down the film and you watched what Ramirez brought to the table, you looked at his footwork, you looked at his jab, you looked at the way he was able to control things, the way that he was shifty and able to move a little bit. You knew that he was going to bring something. You looked and you were like, I don't necessarily expect him to win this fight, but I'm interested to see on what Cruz is going to do. I'm interested to see how he's going to handle what Ramirez brings. Right? Ramirez brings all this to the table, and what's Cruz going to do? Because Cruz is the smaller guy. He's coming in shorter, 7-inch reach disadvantage. Now look, it fits in the sense that Cruz, it's never his intention to go out there and box from the outside and beat a guy. Never going to be moving all around the outside of the ring, fleet of foot, dancing, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee, hitting you with the jabs, stinging with little right hands here and there. It's never going to be what Cruz does. He's never going to be sitting there, setting traps, waiting for you to come forward like he's Juan Manuel Marquez catching you with a nasty left hook. Not his style. So in some regards, it didn't really matter that the guy's taller with the longer reach. He's going to fight the same way as though you're shorter with a shorter reach. He wants to come forward and land big shots and get you out of there. It's exactly what we see. I've said it time and time again. In his mind, the absolute perfect fight every single time is what he did to Diego Magdaleno. The bell rang, marched right across the ring, started landing big shots, and got the man out of there. He's like, I don't get paid for overtime. I don't get paid to stay here any longer. My check is exactly the same if I get a first-round knockout or a 12-round decision. So we may as well just end this early. That's how he goes out there and fights. And that's exactly what we saw again last night. He goes out there and immediately starts putting it on guys. You see Ramirez, he's trying to bounce around on the outside. He's trying to use lateral movement to keep the distance. He's trying to work behind the jab. You know, look, first round wasn't very exciting. First round wasn't very eventful. Ramirez was moving around a little bit. Cruz lands a couple shots here and there. Nothing all that big. But that was it. That's really all it took. By the time that second round started, man, Cruz was able to start getting forward and land some body shots. Within like 10, 15 seconds, he's able to go out there and he's actually able to connect to the body. Now, they weren't big shots. They weren't super hard. And you may think, what does that matter? Why are we talking about some shots to the body that don't really mean that much? And it's because of what it represented. If in the first round, Ramirez is moving around enough, he's fleet of foot, he's changing directions to where it's difficult for Cruz to even make connection, even able to land that leather to the body, that means something. Consequently, it means something when he is able to make contact. And once he's able to make contact, you know it's only a matter of time before he's able to make solid contact, before he's able to land 2 shots instead of just 1, before he's able to close that distance a little bit more. Look, we are seeing Cruz progress, man. He is a young guy. He's only 24 years old. He's not just some undisciplined brawler. He's not just some guy who wants to go in there and eat 2 shots for every one that he delivers because he thinks he's harder and he thinks he's tougher and he thinks he has a better chin. Look at the way he cut off the ring last night relative to how he cut off the ring in that fight with Gervonta Davis. He's getting much more skilled with his footwork. Now, you may look and you may say, yeah, he gets off balance a lot of times with his punches. Swings wild at times. Okay, I get it. Let me ask you this. Do you think he does that still now? I know he used to do it because, he was just swinging so hard. He's out there swinging for a home run every shot. You see him getting over his front foot. You see him getting over his front leg, sometimes without even throwing punches. Sometimes he's getting off balance just from the movement. Just trying so hard to track a guy down. Sometimes getting his feet crossed because he isn't great at cutting off the ring. But you see he's starting to get a lot better at all that. But even last night, we saw him throw a few punches that were a little bit wide, a little bit off balance. But maybe He's throwing those punches that hard because he's not worried about what's coming back. Maybe he feels comfortable throwing a punch that hard last night against Ramirez because he knows that the only thing Ramirez was worried about was staying out of trouble, staying out of harm's way. He wasn't the guy who was going to stay right in the pocket, slip your shot, and fire back with something hard. So maybe it gave Cruz the feeling of, man, I'll go out here and I'll do what I want because nothing's coming back at me. There's nothing I need to worry about. It's only a matter of time before I get this guy out of there. I mean, that's the way he fought, right? Beautiful the way that he slipped that jab and came over the top with that left hook and just crushed him and had the dude face plant. I was surprised he even got up and continued on after that point. But he did. Didn't take him too long, right? Cruz is able to get him right into the corner, track him right down, back him right to that corner. Left hook, right hand, game over, all she wrote. Fight's got to get stopped. But after that first knockdown, look at Ramirez. He's trying to move. He's trying to use lateral movement. Cruz is having none of it. He comes forward and attempts to clinch. Cruz is having none of it. Breaks the clinch, pushes him back up against the ropes into the corner, and finishes him off. The man looked good. I'm very impressed with what I saw last night. I love the fact that he's continuing to improve, right? That's the biggest thing. Because if a guy's continuing to improve, no matter how good he may have looked, it's only a matter of time before people figure him out. It's only a matter of time before once he gets figured out that one time, more and more people are able to execute that same game plan. That's kind of the way it works, right? So you constantly have to add new wrinkles to your game. You constantly have to evolve as a fighter when you're out there. If you're the same guy at 30 that you were at 25, good luck still being successful at the highest levels. So the fact that he's young, even though he saw success, he's still allowing himself to be coached. He's still being teachable. He's still improving. All great signs. Now, after the fight, he calls out, he's like, hey, man, I want that rematch with Gervonta Davis. Right, post-fight interview, that's the first thing he says. I want the rematch with Gervonta Davis. I bet you do. I bet you do, man. That was a razor-thin decision. He's continuing to get better. Gervonta Davis, as far as popularity, money fight, all that, he's the man at 135 pounds right now. I bet he does want that fight. I bet Gervonta Davis doesn't want it. He's like, man, I'm already past him. I already got that win. This young dude is a killer. He's aggressive. He's hungry. Why do I want to jump back in with him? Let me go and take a different fight, man, that's going to make me as much or more money and probably be less risky, right? He's out there talking about potentially fighting Ryan Garcia. Personally, I consider Ryan Garcia less of a risk. Now, Ryan Garcia, it's true, he's fighting up at 140 pounds now. If I was Tank, I would stay down at 135. Certainly, they ain't chasing Ryan Garcia up to 140. There's plenty of business to handle at 135 pounds. So, I'm not necessarily sure, and I'm actually pretty sure that we won't see a Gervonta Davis Isaac Cruz rematch, at least anytime soon. But what's that open the door up for Cruz? Right, we got Devin Haney and Gamboa scheduled October 15th. I think Devin Haney's going to come out with the win in that one. I think he's a very big favorite after the performance that he put on last time, basically beat him with the jab. So let's say it ends the exact way that we think. Devin Haney comes out with a victory there. Would you like to see Isaac Cruz versus Devin Haney? I think it'd be a great one, man, because we know how good Devin Haney's jab is, right? That's potentially the best jab in boxing right now. Right, there's some arguments that some other people got some better one. I love the jab. I love the jab that Triple G has. I love the way that Errol Spence uses his jab, actually. It's not really talked about quite that much, but he uses it great for his style, makes it work. But Devin Haney, man, that jab, in my opinion, right now we got to put that at number one. Boom. Best jab in the game right now today of all the people that are out there. Great at managing distance. Great at using his footwork. That sounds like the perfect matchup for Isaac Cruz, man. Those dudes, like, I'll tell you what. Devin Haney would be forced to use more than the jab if he was fighting Cruz. Cruz would be able to find a way past it. He's going to come in. He's going to throw incredibly hard shots. Devin Haney's going to have to throw power shots to get his respect, to keep Cruz off of him, to be able to manage that gap and control the distance. I think it'd be fireworks, man. I think that would be a great fight. So who knows? Maybe we come out of that fight with October 15th, and maybe that's what we're looking at for this one. Either way, I want to see any fight that Isaac Cruz is in. He's definitely going to be the guy that forces the action 100%, brings it, and we get an exciting fight. Highly talented fighter who's getting better. And just went out there last night and continued to show us why we got to talk about him, man. Why we can't move past him. Why he may not generate as much buzz or sell as many tickets or pay-per-views or any of those things. But it doesn't matter. We have to keep him in the discussion anyways. So let me know what you guys think. Were you as impressed with what he brought to the table last night? Are you seeing the same improvements that I am, or am I a little bit too excited reading into it? And what do you think's next for the guy? Let me know what you guys think.